They were the power couple of the Wild West, until a scandal shattered their empire. Horace Tabor struck it rich in the Colorado silver boom, rising from humble beginnings to a mansion, a political career, and a whirlwind romance with a beautiful opera singer. But behind the glitz and glamour was a love triangle that scandalized a nation and ultimately brought it all crashing down. This is the real-life drama of Horace, Augusta, and Baby Doe Tabor, one of the most jaw-dropping stories of ambition, betrayal, and heartbreak in Old West history. If you love true tales from the Wild West that are stranger than fiction, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a moment of the drama, the danger, and the dirty little secrets of the American frontier. The story of the Tabor Triangle, centered around Horace Tabor, his first wife Augusta, and his second wife Elizabeth, Baby Doe Tabor, is one of the most remarkable rise and fall sagas to come out of the American West. Set against the backdrop of Colorado's silver boom, it's a tale of ambition, wealth, and personal choices that brought both glory and downfall. Horace Tabor began his journey as a modest shopkeeper in Leadville, Colorado. He gained fortune after financially backing a group of miners, a common practice called grub staking, which eventually led him to massive silver profits. His sudden wealth elevated him to one of Colorado's most influential figures, even earning him a brief seat in the U.S. Senate. However, his personal life took a controversial turn when he left his longtime wife Augusta for a much younger woman, Baby Doe. Their relationship became a symbol of extravagance and scandal in polite society. Despite their glamorous public life, both Horace and Baby Doe would later face financial ruin, dying in poverty after the collapse of the silver market. Horace and Augusta Tabor. Horace Tabor was born on April 6, 1830, in Holland, Vermont, to Cornelius Dunham Tabor and Sarah Farron. He grew up with several siblings and left home at 19 to work in the stone quarries of Massachusetts and Maine. In Augusta, Maine, he and his brother John found employment under William B. Pierce, a quarry owner who would later become Horace's father-in-law. Augusta Pierce, one of 10 children born to William and Lucy Eaton Pierce, grew up in a comfortable middle-class home. Though often in delicate health, she was known for her resilience and determination. Horace and Augusta began a quiet courtship that culminated in marriage. In 1855, Horace became involved with the New England Emigrant Aid Society, a group aimed at encouraging anti-slavery settlers to move to Kansas. There, he established a homestead in what came to be known as Tabor Valley in present-day Riley County. His dedication to the cause earned him a seat in the Free Soil Legislature, a political body that represented anti-slavery settlers during a time of significant unrest in the region. In early 1857, Horace returned to Maine to marry Augusta. The newlyweds then traveled back to Kansas, where Augusta struggled to adjust to life on the frontier. The unfamiliar climate, basic accommodations, and the challenges of isolation took a toll on her spirit, though she remained committed to supporting her husband's efforts. They spent 2 years working their land before the promise of new fortunes in the Western Territories began to call to Horace. News of gold discoveries in the area that would become Colorado sparked his interest and set the course for the next chapter of their lives, a chapter filled with both extraordinary achievement and profound personal upheaval. In the spring of 1859, Horace and Augusta Tabor, along with their infant son Maxie and 2 friends from Maine, left their homestead at Deep Creek to seek new opportunities out west. They followed the Republican River Trail, crossing through the mostly uncharted stretches of northern Kansas and southern Nebraska by foot, eventually reaching the young settlement of Denver. During the journey, resources were scarce. While the men hunted for food to sustain the group, Augusta kept the fire going, using whatever she could find, often dried buffalo dung, known as chips, since wood was nearly impossible to come by on the open plains. Their trek took 6 weeks, a trip that would be reduced to less than 30 hours once the railroads reached the region a decade later. Just a month after their passage, journalist Horace Greeley traveled the same route, and described it as an almost lifeless and barren landscape, a sentiment many early travelers shared. Horace made his first attempt at prospecting near Denver, but soon decided to move farther into the mountains in search of better opportunities. In the spring of 1860, the Tabors set out again, this time aiming for California Gulch, an area just south of what would become Leadville, Colorado. Compared to their previous journey, the route to California Gulch was somewhat less grueling, but it still presented major challenges. Hauling heavily loaded wagons over snowy mountain passes, they sometimes passed the very sites where they had camped the night before. Augusta, ever resourceful, washed clothes in freezing mountain streams, cooked meals from limited supplies, and cared for Maxie along the way. One of the most harrowing moments came during a river crossing. The wagon bed began to lift in the fast-moving current, threatening to carry Augusta and the baby downstream. Clutching onto some overhanging branches, she managed to hold on just long enough for the men to reach her and pull her to safety. The physical and emotional strain left her briefly unconscious, a testament to the risks of early frontier travel. When they finally arrived at the goldfields of California Gulch, Augusta became the first woman known to settle in the camp. Her presence made a strong impression on the miners. Taking on multiple roles, she served as the camp's cook, laundress, informal banker, and postmistress. She and Horace used a set of gold scales they had brought with them to weigh miners' gold dust, a service that earned them both trust and income. That first summer in the mountains was a modest success. They earned enough to return to Kansas, invest in more land, and spend the winter with family in Maine. But by spring of 1861, the lure of Colorado called them back. They resumed their life on the move, following the boom and bust rhythm of the region's ever-changing mining camps. As they moved from one mining settlement to the next along the eastern slope of the Continental Divide, Horace and Augusta Tabor tried their luck in a series of early Colorado camps. These included Payne's Bar, now known as Idaho Springs, along with Oro City, twice, California Gulch, and Buckskin Joe. At each location, they followed a familiar pattern, providing essential supplies and services to fellow miners. Rather than relying solely on gold prospecting, the Tabors found steady income by serving the camps as merchants. Augusta would often take charge of boarding the miners, preparing meals, and running the household operation, while Horace experimented with placer mining and helped manage their business ventures. Together, they frequently operated the local store, handled postal duties, and even served as informal bankers, weighing and managing gold dust for the miners. Their neighbors respected them not just for their entrepreneurship, but for their integrity. Horace, in particular, earned admiration for his generosity and willingness to help others. Augusta, however, recognized that Horace's giving nature, while well-meaning, could become a financial liability. She believed it was her responsibility to maintain balance and keep their finances stable. As the more cautious and disciplined partner, Augusta took charge of saving and managing their resources. By the late 1870s, shortly before Horace would discover one of the richest silver strikes in the region, the couple had quietly built a solid financial foundation, worth around $40,000. This was a significant amount for the time, and a reflection of Augusta's careful stewardship. In November of 1868, they returned once again to Oro City, located in the California Gulch area. There they reopened their general store, and Horace resumed his role as postmaster, continuing their dual roles as community providers and business owners. In July 1877, Horace and Augusta Tabor settled in Leadville, Colorado, where they built a new home and opened a general store offering groceries and mining supplies. Horace quickly became an influential figure in the growing town, serving as both Leadville's first mayor and its postmaster. The following spring, while Horace was working at the store, two German prospectors approached him with a familiar request. They needed support to begin mining and asked if he would grub-stake their venture. Tabor, no stranger to helping miners get started, agreed. He provided them with $17 worth of supplies initially, followed by additional goods on two more occasions, bringing the total to $54. In exchange, the prospectors, Auguste Richet and George Hook, offered Tabor a one-third share in any future discoveries. They soon staked a claim on Friar Hill, naming it the Little Pittsburgh Mine. On April 15, 1878, the venture took a dramatic turn when the pair informed Tabor they had struck silver. By midsummer, the mine was producing impressive yields. Nearly 100 tons of silver ore had already been extracted, and each partner was receiving a monthly income of $50,000, a fortune in that era. That fall, Hook sold his share to Tabor and Richet for $98,000. Not long after, Richet sold his own interest to investors Jerome Chaffee and David Moffett for over $250,000. Tabor retained his portion and expanded his position by consolidating his stake with other claims on Friar Hill. His leadership and rising wealth made him a prominent figure in Leadville's booming silver industry. Before long, the Consolidated Mine Group had divided $4 million in profits. Tabor eventually sold his share for a substantial $1 million. His success didn't stop there. He acquired interests in several other productive mines, including the Chrysolite, which he co-owned with Chicago retailer Marshall Field. That mine alone generated $3 million in revenue before Tabor sold his share for $1.5 million. In 1879, he purchased the matchless mine for $117,000, his first fully owned mine. It soon lived up to its name, producing as much as $2,000 in silver ore per day. True to his generous nature, Tabor reinvested in the town of Leadville. He helped establish 2 newspapers, opened a bank, and built a grand opera house, all within 2 years. These efforts contributed to the town's civic life and cultural development, reinforcing his reputation as a benefactor. However, Augusta did not share in his excitement over their newfound wealth. While she had endured years of hard work and hardship, she struggled to adjust to the extravagance that suddenly surrounded them. Augusta remained practical and cautious, urging restraint and savings. But Horace, now nearing 50 and finally free from the grind of daily survival, felt entitled to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Their contrasting views on money only widened the emotional distance between them. While Horace embraced a life of luxury, Augusta refused to change her simple habits. She continued to dress modestly and live frugally, resisting the social expectations that came with her fortune. Her concern for the future stood in sharp contrast to Horace's belief that their prosperity was endless. After Horace Tabor commissioned the construction of an elegant mansion in Denver, Augusta made a surprising choice. She declined to use the master bedroom, opting instead to live in the servants' quarters near the kitchen. She preferred to remain close to her daily routines, even keeping a cow tied outside the front door so she could personally handle the milking. By this time, Horace had risen to the position of Lieutenant Governor of Colorado. He felt increasingly uncomfortable with Augusta's humble lifestyle, especially as he tried to align his public image with his political standing. Augusta, however, had little interest in appearances and openly dismissed his concerns about prestige and refinement. The growing divide in their values and domestic life created emotional distance between them. While Augusta remained grounded and practical, Horace began to seek companionship elsewhere. His success had brought him public attention, and he enjoyed the admiration of others, particularly women. Known for his generosity, he began spending extravagantly, especially on those who flattered or entertained him. In 1880, a casual encounter at Denver's Saddle Rock Cafe would alter the course of Horace's life. There he met Elizabeth McCourt, better known as Baby Doe. Strikingly beautiful and far more free-spirited than most women of her time, Baby Doe captured Tabor's attention immediately. Originally from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Baby Doe had already challenged the era's social norms. She ignored the strict codes of Victorian womanhood and wasn't afraid to dream boldly. Her charm and ambition resonated with Horace, who was by then celebrated as the Silver King. Though her relationship with Tabor stirred controversy, especially among Denver's more conservative elite. Baby Doe left a lasting impression on Colorado's history. She would go on to symbolize both the heights of ambition and the risks of romantic and financial entanglement during the Gilded Age. Today, many remember her not just for the scandal, but for her independence and refusal to live by anyone else's rules. Baby Doe. Elizabeth Bondewell McCourt, later known as Baby Doe, was born on October 7, 1854, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. She was one of 7 children born to Peter McCourt, Sr. and Elizabeth Lizzie Nellis McCourt. Among her siblings, Elizabeth stood out not only for her physical beauty, often described as cherubic, but also for her spirited and independent personality. Her family affectionately called her Lizzie, after her mother. In the winter of 1876, Lizzie won a church-sponsored figure skating contest, an unusual and impressive achievement for a young woman at the time. Her victory caught the attention of Harvey Doe, Jr., the son of a prosperous family. The two began to see each other socially, despite strong disapproval from Harvey's mother. Mrs. Doe objected to Lizzie's Catholic faith and her more modest socioeconomic background. Still, the couple continued their relationship, and in 1877 they married. Harvey had been raised in comfort, surrounded by the attentions of his mother and 4 sisters, and had little experience with self-reliance. Lizzie, however, saw a kind-hearted partner in him and was eager to begin a new chapter. The newlyweds set out for Colorado, where Harvey's father held a partial interest in the 4th of July mine near Central City. Like many hopefuls of their era, Harvey believed they could find wealth quickly. "We'll go west and make our fortune overnight in gold," he reportedly said. This belief, common during the mining boom, reflected the optimism and naivety of many settlers. Upon arriving in the mining town, Lizzie drew significant attention for her good looks and vibrant nature, especially in the male-dominated frontier community. Harvey, however, struggled to succeed in the mine. As challenges mounted, Lizzie eventually joined him underground, wearing miner's clothes and helping with physical labor. Her decision to work in the mine went against the gender expectations of the time. This made her a subject of local gossip and speculation. Nonetheless, she remained popular in the mining camps and was soon affectionately dubbed Baby Doe, a nickname that would follow her for the rest of her life. Financial troubles continued to plague the couple. The 4th of July mine produced less gold than they had hoped, and Harvey accumulated debt. His lack of drive and reluctance to make tough decisions strained their marriage. Eventually, he took a job doing manual labor in the Bobtail Tunnel, and the couple relocated to Black Hawk, where living expenses were lower. Their new life offered little joy. Lizzie found herself isolated, with few friends and little to do. Harvey worked night shifts and spent much of his free time writing letters to his mother, rather than investing in their relationship. As time passed, he began drifting between mining camps in search of work, often leaving Lizzie alone for extended periods. To pass the time and lift her spirits, Lizzie took long walks through Central City. She often found herself admiring the displays in shop windows, dreaming of a better life. During this period, she met Jacob Sandalowski, a successful clothing merchant and part owner of the Sandalowski Pelton store. Their friendship would prove significant as she faced growing uncertainty in her marriage and future. Jacob Sandalowski, who later changed his name to Jake Sands, was known for his good looks, particularly his dark curly hair, and he soon became a frequent companion of Baby Doe during the long periods when Harvey was away. The two were often seen together at the Shoefly Saloon, a lively and somewhat unconventional gathering place that featured dancing, gambling, and other entertainments common to mining towns of the day. The Shoefly was known for its spirited crowd, largely made up of miners looking to unwind. Baby Doe's charm and energy made her a favorite among the regulars, and she was well received in this boisterous setting. Meanwhile, Harvey's disappearances became more prolonged, and he began to drink excessively. Though his female relatives occasionally sent him money, Lizzie saw little of it, and the couple struggled financially. As rent went unpaid, the couple was forced to move repeatedly. Then, in late 1878, Lizzie became pregnant. Unfortunately, Harvey was absent during this crucial period, leaving her without the support she needed. According to Baby Doe's later recollections, it was Jake Sands who provided her with essential help during this time, help that may have prevented her from facing extreme hardship. On July 13th, 1879, Lizzie gave birth to a stillborn baby boy. Jake was by her side, covering medical costs and making the necessary arrangements. Though some have speculated that Jake may have been the child's father, the truth remains uncertain. The only personal record Baby Doe left behind was a handwritten note in her scrapbook, later found after her death. It read, "My baby boy, born July 13, 1879, had dark hair, very curly, large blue eyes. He was lovely, Baby Doe, and was surrounded by dried flowers." Following this deeply emotional experience, Jake encouraged Lizzie to join him in Leadville, where he was opening a new store. With few ties left in Central City, she accepted his invitation and visited the growing mining town. Despite the opportunity to start fresh, she chose to return briefly to Central City in hopes of salvaging her relationship with Harvey. Unfortunately, little had changed. Harvey remained without steady work, continued to rely on alcohol, and had lost the financial backing of his family. His lack of direction and ambition stood in sharp contrast to Baby Doe's desire for a better life. By 1880, she made the difficult but necessary decision to file for divorce on the grounds of non-support and moved to Leadville to begin anew. Jake helped her settle into a boarding house and even proposed marriage, believing their long friendship might grow into something more. But although Baby Doe appreciated his loyalty, she did not feel romantic love for him. Within a few months, her path would shift again when she met Horace Tabor, a man whose wealth and status would alter the course of her life, Horace and Baby Doe. The connection between Horace Tabor and Baby Doe appeared instantaneous. Their relationship developed quickly, and Horace soon moved her into a suite at the Clarendon Hotel, conveniently located near his Tabor Opera House in Leadville. At the time, Horace was serving as Colorado's lieutenant governor and was still legally married to his wife, Augusta. Despite this, his bond with Baby Doe deepened, and their relationship became increasingly visible. Eventually, Horace relocated Baby Doe to the elegant Windsor Hotel in Denver, a symbol of both his affection and his wealth. As their relationship progressed, the distance between Horace and Augusta grew. Though Baby Doe became the focus of public attention, their marriage had long been strained. Horace once reflected on the two women in his life by telling Baby Doe, "You're always so gay and laughing, and yet you're so brave. Augusta is a damn brave woman too, but she's powerfully disagreeable about it." While Baby Doe may have hastened the separation, she was not the root cause. Both Horace and Augusta were strong-willed individuals shaped by the challenges of frontier life. Over time, their shared resilience turned into stubborn independence. Their parting was more the result of emotional distance than any single incident. When Horace asked Augusta for a formal divorce, she declined. Determined to move forward, he arranged for a divorce proceeding in Durango, Colorado. However, the legal grounds for that divorce were questionable, and it was later declared invalid. Whether Horace misunderstood the law or chose to ignore it, he proceeded anyway. On September 30th, 1882, he and Baby Doe married in a private ceremony in St. Louis, Missouri. By the time Augusta learned of the marriage, it had already taken place. She contested the divorce vigorously, and the ensuing legal dispute drew significant public attention. Augusta requested a formal separation with financial support, estimating her husband's wealth at over $9 million. Horace disputed this amount, a point likely in his favor, since more reliable estimates placed his fortune closer to $3 million. After a lengthy legal battle, Augusta secured a settlement that included $100,000 in annual income, the family mansion in Denver, and various other holdings. Although she emerged financially secure, personal fulfillment eluded her. Augusta eventually moved to Pasadena, California, where she lived out her later years in solitude. She passed away on February 1st, 1895, known for her dignity and financial acumen, leaving her son Maxie an estate valued at over $1.5 million. Horace Tabor's reputation continued to rise, and through political connections, he was appointed to fill the vacant U.S. Senate seat left by Henry Teller. This appointment lasted for 30 days beginning on February 3, 1883, when Horace was officially sworn in to serve in Washington, D.C. Near the end of his brief term, Horace and Baby Doe renewed their vows in a grand and widely discussed ceremony on March 1, 1883, held in the nation's capital. The invitations were notably ornate, featuring genuine silver borders and silver embossed lettering. Baby Doe's wedding gown reportedly cost $7,000, and Horace gifted her an extravagant diamond necklace valued at $75,000. The ceremony attracted many of Horace's political allies, including the president, though the wives of these dignitaries declined to attend, signaling social disapproval. The controversy surrounding Horace's previous divorce and their marriage quickly became headline news across the country. The scandal brought discomfort to Washington's elite and other influential circles. After the ceremony, the couple returned to Denver, where Horace purchased a large mansion for Baby Doe, spanning an entire city block. However, despite the luxury and wealth, Baby Doe soon realized that Denver's upper-class society was not easily welcoming. Persistent rumors and harsh gossip about her past in the central city circulated widely. Many of the city's prominent women, especially those married to wealthy men, declined to accept Baby Doe into their social ranks, partly due to the scandal of the divorce and the noticeable age gap between her and Horace. Nevertheless, these social snubs did little to diminish the couple's strong relationship. For the next decade, they maintained a loving and devoted household. Their home was known for its extravagant features, including 100 peacocks roaming the lawns and gardens, decorated with provocative statues, some of which unsettled their more conservative neighbors. In a playful response, Baby Doe had her dressmaker create clothing for the statues, demonstrating her spirited nature. The Tabors lived lavishly, often spending up to $10,000 weekly on entertaining, travel, and various luxuries. At the peak of their success, they were counted among the 5 wealthiest families in the United States. During this prosperous period, they commissioned the construction of the Tabor Grand Opera House in Denver. The couple also welcomed 2 daughters, Lily, born July 13, 1884, and Silver Dollar, born December 17, 1889. Baby Doe's renown was largely due to her striking beauty. Admirers often praised her delicate petal-like complexion, her soft strawberry blonde curls, her deep blue eyes, and her vibrant, engaging personality. Those close to her also valued the warmth and charm she displayed beneath her outward appearance. She formed friendships with numerous actors and actresses who performed at the Grand Opera House, many of whom appreciated her lively and approachable nature. Their acceptance helped soften the sting from Denver's social elite, who viewed her as flamboyant, provocative, and somewhat controversial. Known as the Silver Queen of the West, Baby Doe was celebrated for her ambitious spirit. Meanwhile, Horace Tabor earned the title of Denver's Grand Old Man, reflecting his prominence in the community. Together, the years following their union were filled with constant activity and excitement. The Tabor mines were remarkably profitable, especially the chrysolite and matchless mines. The matchless mine alone generated over $9 million in silver revenue. With such wealth, the Tabors indulged in lavish parties, traveled frequently, and spent many nights enjoying performances at the newly built Tabor Grand Opera House. Horace devoted much of his time and fortune to political campaigns, as well as to providing Baby Doe and their 2 daughters with elegant jewelry, luxurious furs, and exquisite gowns made from the finest silk and lace. Their fortune grew rapidly, becoming so vast that it was difficult to quantify, enabling them to live with great extravagance. A generous investor, Horace eagerly funded new silver mining ventures, emerging businesses seeking capital, and some speculative enterprises, though not all proved profitable. Between 1883 and 1893, the decade was marked by tremendous opportunity and promise for the Tabors. With Baby Doe by his side, Horace's vision of transforming Denver into the Paris of the West seemed achievable. Baby Doe's ambitions mirrored her husband's, both sharing dreams of a life filled with grandeur and significant civic achievements. Unfortunately, their prosperous era came to an abrupt close in 1893 when the United States adopted the gold standard. This shift severely devalued silver, Horace's main financial asset, and combined with heavily mortgaged properties, the Tabor's wealth quickly deteriorated. Horace's reluctance to heed advice about diversifying his investments contributed to their financial decline. Compounding this, he had made several unprofitable ventures in foreign mining operations in Mexico and South America, which resulted in significant monetary losses. Despite the mounting hardships and the loss of their fortune, Horace remained optimistic about the future. He continued to seek employment opportunities throughout his later years, maintaining hope that he might one day restore his former success. After leaving their grand mansion on Capitol Hill, Baby Doe, Horace, and their two young daughters, Elizabeth Lily and Rose Mary Silverdollar, moved into a modest rented cottage. At the age of 65, Horace took on physically demanding work, shoveling slag from nearby mines for $3 a day. This continued until he received an appointment as Denver's postmaster just 1 year before his passing. Despite the family's financial setbacks, Baby Doe remained hopeful that they could recover the Tabor fortune. Many critics, however, doubted her loyalty, speculating that she might separate from Horace if their wealth disappeared. Contrary to these assumptions, Baby Doe stayed steadfast and devoted to her husband until the very end. In April 1899, Horace became seriously ill with appendicitis. In the days before his death, he was reported to have told Baby Doe to hold on to the matchless mine. If I die, baby, it will make millions again when silver returns. This statement, however, has been questioned by historians as possibly fabricated by writers aiming to sell books. Horace's death was deeply mourned throughout Colorado. Flags were lowered to half-mast and around 10,000 people attended his funeral, marking the passing of a prominent figure. Baby Doe, then just 45 years old, would never again experience the lavish lifestyle she had once known. Though still youthful and striking, she chose not to remarry. Instead, she dedicated herself to preserving the matchless mine, continually seeking financial support to keep it operational. Returning to Leadville with her two daughters, Baby Doe settled in a humble 12 by 16-foot one-room building that had originally served as a tool shed at the mine. The modest living conditions were difficult for her eldest daughter, 15-year-old Lily, who resented the situation. Lily boldly decided to leave, borrowing train fare from her uncle to move to Wisconsin and live with her grandmother. After this, she cut off all contact with her mother and sister. Silverdollar Tabor. Silverdollar, at just 10 years old, was a lively tomboy who initially embraced the excitement of life at the mine. She showed a strong interest in writing poetry, a passion her mother, Baby Doe, wholeheartedly supported. With Baby Doe's encouragement, Silverdollar managed to publish several songs. One notable piece was composed to honor President Theodore Roosevelt's 1908 visit to Leadville, titled President Roosevelt's Colorado Hunt, with music contributed by a Denver friend. The song gained popularity across Colorado, and the Denver Post even featured an extensive article about Silverdollar's emerging talent. In 1910, Silverdollar had the opportunity to perform the song for President Roosevelt himself and met him in person. However, as she grew older, her spirited nature led her to frequent social gatherings in Leadville, where heavy drinking became a concern. After an incident involving a local saloon keeper following a night of partying, Baby Doe decided it was best to send Silverdollar to Denver, hoping the change would offer her a fresh start. In Denver, Silverdollar found work at a local newspaper and wrote a Western novel titled The Star of Blood. Unfortunately, neither endeavor brought her the success she hoped for. She then ventured into publishing a small magazine, but her personal struggles continued to mount. After a few challenging years, Silverdollar relocated to Chicago, Illinois, determined to make one last attempt at a writing career. She even confided to her mother that if this effort failed, she planned to enter a convent. Baby Doe never saw her daughter again, though she received occasional letters from Silverdollar. Eventually, news emerged in a Denver newspaper detailing Silver Dollar's tragic and untimely death. During her time in Chicago, Silver Dollar's difficulties deepened. She became involved with drugs and drinking and performed with a burlesque troupe for a period. She lived with a series of unsuitable partners, one of whom caused her death in a disturbing incident. Silver Dollar was only 35 years old. Baby Doe refused to believe or accept the reports, maintaining that Silver Dollar was safely residing in a convent. Whether or not she truly believed this, she never publicly acknowledged the harsh reality. For the remaining 35 years of her life, Baby Doe lived in the modest cabin near the mine, proud and independent, consistently rejecting any form of charity. Occasionally, she would make trips into town to buy supplies, paying with chunks of ore she collected on the property. Unbeknownst to her, many of the shopkeepers who accepted these samples likely discarded the worthless rocks soon after. Contrary to popular legend, Baby Doe did not hold on to the matchless mine because of Horace's supposed last words that it would produce millions again. In truth, the mine had long been lost to foreclosure and proved unprofitable even under new ownership. Baby Doe remained at the small cabin largely due to the kindness of the current mine owners, living out her days scribbling page after page of increasingly troubled, even delirious reflections. As the years went by, Baby Doe faced increasing hardship with no steady income and limited means to purchase necessities. To protect her feet during harsh weather, she wrapped them in burlap sacks secured with twine. When she became ill, she relied on homemade remedies, often treating herself with a mixture of turpentine and lard. Though creditors and compassionate neighbors in Leadville provided her with basic essentials, Baby Doe's pride was such that she often returned food and clothing sent to her unopened. In 1932, when a film about her life was released, the promoters offered to cover her expenses and pay her if she attended the Denver premiere. She declined the invitation, unwilling to revisit the chapters of her past. The following year, a priest friend and two lawyers urged her to file a libel lawsuit against the movie's producers, promising a settlement of $50,000. Once again, she refused, confident that the matchless mine would soon yield far greater returns. Despite her reluctance, the film brought renewed attention to Baby Doe, prompting many to send her letters of sympathy and financial support. She accepted these gifts, distinguishing them from charity in her own mind. On February 20th, 1935, Baby Doe made a difficult journey into town to gather supplies. A grocery delivery driver kindly gave her a ride back and ensured she had enough food, water, and firewood. She documented the ordeal in her diary. Went down to Leadville from Matchless. The snow was so deep I had to crawl on hands and knees from my cabin to 7th Street. Mr. Zates' driver helped me to the cabin. I kept sinking into the snow. God bless him. This man would be the last person to see her alive. A fierce snowstorm persisted for several days after her return. Concerned neighbors, who regularly checked on her well-being, grew worried when no smoke was seen rising from her chimney. On March 7, 1935, they braved snowdrifts as high as 6 feet and found Baby Doe's lifeless body on the floor of her small cabin. Later reports indicated she likely suffered a heart attack. Her remains were transported to Denver and laid to rest at Mount Olivet Cemetery beside her husband, Horace Tabor. The modest cabin where she spent many years alone was soon ransacked by souvenir hunters who took numerous personal belongings. Photographs taken afterwards show the cabin in disarray, though it is said that Baby Doe herself kept her home as orderly as possible despite her tendency to collect many items. Following her death, 17 iron trunks stored in Denver were opened, along with several gunny sacks and 4 trunks left at St. Vincent's Hospital in Leadville. The remnants of the once vast Tabor fortune consisted mainly of exquisite bolts of unused fabric, a few pieces of china and a tea set, some jewelry including a diamond and sapphire ring, and the well-known watch fob and chain Horace Tabor received at the grand opening of the $700,000 Tabor Opera House in Denver. Several other memorabilia items were also found, preserving the legacy of a remarkable, if tragic, chapter in Colorado's history. Baby Doe's life became legendary inspiring 2 books and a Hollywood film. Over time, her story was adapted into 2 operas, a German-language stage play, a musical, a screenplay, a one-woman performance, and numerous additional books and articles. In 1938, the last person to explore the matchless mine found there was still plenty of silver remaining, though not enough to cover the costs of extraction. The matchless mine in Baby Doe's modest one-room cabin, featuring a simple plank floor and a small potbelly stove, have been carefully restored to reflect their original condition as accurately as possible. To replicate the insulation she once used, old newspapers line the walls, setting a fitting stage for historic photographs of the Tabors and other memorabilia that highlight the stark contrast between the different phases of Baby Doe's life. Although many of the furnishings were added after her time, a few genuine artifacts remain. These include a delicate white silk scarf from her more prosperous years and magazines depicting her as a graceful young woman, her appearance enhanced by fine jewelry. Representing her later, more challenging years is a worn leather satchel placed in a corner of the cabin, alongside a photograph taken just a few years before her passing. Among her most treasured belongings was a framed statue of the Virgin Mary, which still hangs above the narrow bed draped with a quilt. As her years of solitude grew, Baby Doe turned increasingly to religion and a form of mysticism, marking a calendar displayed in the cabin with the days she claimed to have communicated with spiritual voices. These objects contribute to the cabin's poignant atmosphere, inviting visitors to connect with her story on a deeper level. The cabin was officially opened to the public as a historic site in 1953. Surrounding photographs and knowledgeable guides enhance the experience, sharing authentic stories that bring both the era and Baby Doe's life vividly to light. When the cabin was made accessible, the mine's 365-foot shaft on Friar Hill was permanently sealed for safety. However, visitors can still peer into the dark, shadowed depths of the mine or gaze upward at the wooden headframe. Nearby, a rusting iron bucket recalls the harsh reality of miners who once descended into the shafts for demanding 12-hour shifts, earning about $3 a day. The bucket's cable and pulley system was operated from the adjacent hoist house, which also contains a blacksmith shop featuring the mine's large original bellows. Inside the hoist house, an intricately detailed scale model of the matchless mine is on display, illustrating its 7 levels or shafts designed to provide fresh airflow throughout the underground workings. Outside the small cluster of buildings, the landscape may appear calm and inviting under the sun, but visitors are reminded that winter temperatures here have been known to plummet to as low as 50 degrees below zero. The matchless mine and Baby Doe's cabin are located about 1.2 miles east of Leadville on East 7th Street. They are open to visitors daily from 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. between Memorial Day and Labor Day, and can be visited by appointment during the rest of the year. The story of the Tabor Triangle is a vivid reminder that the American Old West was a place where fortunes could be made and lost overnight, and where lives were forever changed by ambition, love, and controversy. From humble beginnings to dazzling wealth and the scandals that followed, the Tabor's legacy captures the wild, unpredictable spirit of the era. If you enjoyed uncovering these fascinating facts about the Tabor Triangle, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the incredible stories that shaped the Old West. Don't miss out on the next chapter of history waiting to be told.